When I was in theology school, one of my favorite authors was Henry Nouwen. I appreciated his wisdom and insight as well as his honesty and vulnerability. His writing style was very down to earth and very pleasing to read. I made it a habit to read a few pages of his books in bed as a meditative practice before falling asleep each night. What is also interesting is Henry Nouwen's journey of life. He was a Roman Catholic priest and he became an academic. He later on became a professor at Yale and then at the Harvard Divinity School. In other words, he reached the pinnacle of his career. He also wrote 39 books, which sold 7 million copies worldwide, and they have been translated into 30 languages. Yet at the height of his academic career, teaching at Harvard, he left it all behind and he came to Richmond Hill to work at the Large Community, which is a home for persons with intellectual disabilities. There he cared not for the brightest minds of academia, but the people on the other end of the spectrum. Henry Nouwen made the move because he did not like the competitive environment of the university, and he was seeking a place of community where people cared for one another. At the Large Community, the residents did not care how many honors that Henry Nouwen had earned, or how many books he published, or how famous he was. They needed Henry Nouwen as someone who could help them get through each and every day. And they needed help to eat and dress and very simple things like that. And when he was living in Richmond Hill, something dramatic happened in his life. The gist of the story is that his friend rejected him and completely severed the friendship. Henry Nouwen suffered a major emotional breakdown and he could not do his job at all. And because he was a total wreck, it forced him to go on a retreat. I think that lasted something like 11 months. And he suffered from deep loneliness and depression as well. Sometimes he cried uncontrollably, and the two people who were assigned to help him held him in his or her arms to comfort him as he cried. And it is from this place of despair and emotional devastation that he wrote his masterpiece, the book, The Return of the Prodigal Son, which we studied in our Lenten Bible study a number of years ago. And he found much hope and consolation in realizing that God is like the father in the parable who welcomed the prodigal son with open arms and embraced him with unconditional love. After that, he wrote the book, Life of the Beloved. And this was one of the last major books that he wrote. The theological foundation of this book comes from Jesus' baptism experience. After Jesus was baptized, he heard the voice of God saying to him, "You are my son, the beloved. With you I am well pleased." When Jesus was baptized, it made a truly deep impact to hear that he was the Son, that he was beloved, and that God was well pleased with him. Henry Nouwen realized that experience was central to Jesus' identity, which defined him, that shaped his ministry, and allowed him to trust in God even into his death. Henry Nouwen also realized that was the key to his own healing, his source of liberation from suffering, and the true source of his self-esteem and power. Henry Nouwen found his answer through the scripture. In the same place, Jesus found the source of his strength as the beloved of God. Henry Nouwen goes on to say that by virtue of our own baptism, we are to claim our identity as the beloved of God. That is our spiritual heritage. That is our new identity and the source of our happiness, our peace, our joy, and the energy of life as well. And not only that, we are to see one another also as the beloved of God. And he saw that in the people whom he cared for, in the severely intellectually disabled adults. He saw the face of God in them as well. As psychologists would say, having a healthy sense of self-identity lies at the core of our emotional health. That often is the greatest challenge for psychologists as well as spiritual directors to convey that to their clients. People suffer from great anguish because they have been mistreated. Many have absorbed as their identity all the harm and mistreatment that they have received. Unfortunately, many people have embraced this false sense of their self based on how others have treated them and the pain that they have experienced. I remember reading the autobiography of a comedian from the Saturday Night Live and the 30 Rock, Tina Fey, who wrote the book called Bossy Pants. In it, she talks about facing verbal sexual harassment from a male colleague that was very degrading. In a highly unexpected and very unusual response, Tina Fey said to the man, "I am the daughter of Don Fey, and my father loves me." What was surprising was that the man who sexually harassed her never bothered her after that. I know that not all of us had parents who loved us unconditionally, but in our faith, we have God who is our ultimate creator, who is our spiritual parent, who gives us all the love we ever need, and who is proud of us despite all the foolish mistakes we have made in our lives. Life can be very hard, and so we certainly need protection and strength which comes from our faith. Our culture does not help either. The advertisers have done a masterful job of creating a culture of dissatisfaction. It is as though we cannot be happy if we do not wear the right clothes, have the latest phone, drive the right kind of car, and eat in the trendy restaurants. We have become a slave to our culture, and we get defined by the things we have. We get caught up in that, and we spend far too much money on things that really do not bring lasting fulfillment. And so our journey in our faith is to claim our identity as the beloved of God. Ultimately, however, Christianity is not a religion where we learn how to feel good about ourselves. Our religion is not that shallow. It is not self-serving either. Just like Jesus, as we have been baptized, we gain a sense of who we are as the beloved son and beloved daughter of the God of the universe. As Jesus lived the life of the beloved, he also demonstrated what that entailed in the way he showed the love of God through his teaching, healing the sick, feeding the hungry, and being a servant of all. We too are empowered to live the life of beloved. We are invited to show our identity as beloved of God in all that we do, in all that we say, and in all that we give of ourselves. And we could do this with all the joy of living. Henry Nouwen struggled despite all his successes as the professor at Harvard and through all the books that he wrote. But only when he realized that he was a beloved of God, that he found his true identity and peace. And so do we. Thanks be to God. For the spiritual practice, please listen to the words by Henry Nouwen and listen to what God may be saying to us. You are my child. You are written in the palms of my hand. You are hidden in the shadow of my hand. I have molded you in the secret of the earth. I have knitted you together in your mother's womb. You belong to me. I am yours. You are mine. I have called you from eternity, and you are the one who is held safe and embraced in love from eternity to eternity. You belong to me, and I am holding you safe. And I want you to know that whatever happens to you, I am always there. I was always there. I am always there. I always will be there and hold you in my embrace. You are my child. You are mine. You belong to my home. You belong to my intimate life, and I will never let you go. I will be faithful to you.